personal trainer and nutritionist, and today I have a stretch and tone booty edition. So this is a workout that is going to stretch the body and mildly tone the muscles. You're really going to feel it in your hips and the main part of your butt, or the gluteus maximus. And the workout doesn't have a warm-up or really cool down. Well, it kind of cools down, but the warm-up, like, it kind of starts out mild, but there aren't like specific dynamic stretches to help you warm up, because the whole workout is based off of toning and stretching at the same time. So before we begin, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, and if you'd like to help contribute, if you go to my channel page in the About, there's a link for donations. I also have an inspirational phrase to share with you. It says, "When you can be happy in the midst of hardship, then you can see the true potential of the mind." And I like this because in my past, I considered myself to be depressed. And I guess I sort of blamed it on having a hard life and, you know, the turmoil that I faced. And eventually, I had this, what you called a finding the light moment. And it's where I started to teach myself to become happy. And it started with this journal that I started keeping in 2016, where I wrote like positive phrases, things that I was thankful for, and I still do that, by the way. But this was more, I had to like make myself do it. Now I find it very easy, and I find pretty much everything in my life to be great. But then I had to train myself to do it, and after a few years, I eventually learned to become happy. But then something terrible happened to me. A whole like catalyst of awful events happened, and I almost reverted back to being depressed, but instead of feeling sorry for myself in the situation, and some people don't believe in God, and that's okay, so I'm not trying to like impose my views on anyone, but I stayed in prayer for like most of the day. Like, if I wasn't doing something, I was praying that God was going to help me. And then something spectacular happened, because I was in a very bad situation, and it was one that I wasn't quite sure that I was going to get out of. And I ended up, like, despite all the odds being stacked against me, I made it out okay. And then suddenly my life like became the most beautiful it's ever been. And it had always been like pretty challenging, and like for the first time in my life I had a peaceful life, like no bad things happening. And you can't always expect life to be like that. There'll be times where you're stressed out, or you know, where things are difficult, but it's been the most stable my life has ever been, and I am like immensely grateful for it. So with that being said, we can begin our workout. The first thing that I have are plie side bends. So you're going to lace your fingers and bring your hands overhead and bring your legs wide apart. Give a plie, and when you come up, give a side bend. Now, this is going to work the inner thighs. It's going to stretch along the side of the abdominal, but it's also going to work this oblique, or this oblique, depending on which way you lean, mildly. So with that being said, we're going to do that 12 times. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is a pigeon booty pulse. So you're going to get into a pigeon pose. I'm just going to stretch the front of this hip here, and then you have this back leg relaxed behind you, and you're going to pulse that leg up. So pulse, 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 and you're really going to feel it on the side of your thigh, and maybe in the side of your butt as well. So we're going to do that for 15, This is just a little movement, but it feels like a lot of work. So once you've done your 15, switch. The next thing that we have is a cookie sit with a straight leg fire hydrant. So you get into your cookie sit and you're going to lift your leg straight up. To make it more challenging, you can take your hands off the ground and this will give you more core engagement. So do that for 10 on each side. The next thing that we have is a cookie sit push back. So remaining in your cookie sit, you're going to lift your leg up and then push back. And here you're going to feel a contraction in the side of your butt in the main part of your glute. So we're going to do that for 10. Keep your feet flexed the whole time. So your foot is flexed like you're about to hit the gas pedal or you're going to push a wall away from you. And then we're on to our next exercise, which is going to be an elbow to knee fire hydrant and push back. So you're going to get into a quadruped position, bring your elbow to knee, and then push back. And we're going to do this for 10 on each side. This is going to work the obliques and the side of the butt. It's also good for the muscles surrounding the hip. Now, the next thing that we have is a different variation. This time we're going to do a kneaded chest donkey kick. So this is going to focus more on the hamstring and the main part of the glute. So going back into your quadruped position, you're going to bring your knee up towards your chest and then push it back. So we'll do that for 10. Then we're on to our next exercise, which is going to be a stir the pot with your hips. So what you're going to do is you're going to lace your fingers and bring your arms up overhead, which offers a nice stretch to your lats and shoulders. You're going to come up a few inches off your feet, and you're going to keep your butt here, and then you're going to stir the pot, which hopefully you're alone for this because it feels kind of awkward. So you're going to stir the pot for 15 each way. You do not want to sit your butt down. You're going to sit there and hover, and eventually it burns. So once you've done 15, switch. And as silly as it looks, it's actually very good for your hips and their mobility. So for women, they're more likely to have hip problems than men, and this is because of their distribution of weight throughout their body, women tend to carry fat around that part, and men, they don't tend to have as much fat as women. And so we bear weight on our joints, and they get easier to break as we get older. Plus, women are more likely to get osteoporosis, which is the weakening of bones. That's why elderly people kind of shrink as they get older. And they also, you know, if they fall, it's more dangerous. Their bones are more likely to break, and sometimes that results in death. In fact, a lot of it does. And other times it results in hospital visits that don't end. So by working the muscles surrounding the hip and also increasing the blood flow throughout that region, like in the joints there, you increase your hip mobility and you're strengthening those muscles, and those two things can help reduce your risk of injuries or other health problems. So the next thing that we have is a down dog pedal. So you get into your down dog and you're going to pedal your feet for 20. And then the last thing that we have is a wide sit, and you're going to push up towards the floor. Or down towards the floor and up from it. I don't know. You see what I mean. And we'll do that for 10. And then that concludes our Stretch and Tone Booty Edition. I hope you enjoyed it. Please check out more of my other videos on YouTube under Wellness by Elizabeth, and like, subscribe, and share.